On this episode of the Procedurally Generated Show, Ethan strands death and Tony busts some ghosts. We talk about the week's biggest news and answer your question. Well, howdy, everybody. Welcome to the Procedurally Generated Show. I'm your host, Tony, and joining me this week, I've got Ethan.
Strands death. We couldn't even go with Norman Reedus' Amazon Delivery Man Simulator.
I mean, I guess I could have, but that's what I had written down. I can change it if we need to.
No, that's whatever you want to do.
Okay.
I'm just throwing the option out there. In fact, it'd probably help if I reopened up the show notes onto my screen.
Might be a good
idea.
There
they are.
Well, since I did mention before the show that you stranded Death, I'm assuming that means that you've played Death Stranding.
I played it. I'm like in the second area after your tutorial area. I got on a ship and got transported to another location.
Okay.
So I'm in this area. There's a lot more going on than there is in the tutorial, but it's still doing the same thing that you do in the tutorial. And I still don't know what's going on. I have an idea, like, what I'm dealing with, but I don't know origin or anything or why it's happening.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't know anything about that game other than there's that baby thing, and I don't even know what that is exactly.
Oh, gosh. I can't explain that. So you got your world. So it takes the normal world, whatever it is, like right now, and then suddenly you're dealing with the dead showing up as like invisible or something, and then that causes like some people to have weird mutations. Some can, or they can sense them, or some can see them, or even teleport or something. I don't know how to explain that. But not everyone gets that abilities. I think they called them Dooms.
Okay.
And since you're playing as Norman Reedus, you're not the most overpowered character ever. You just know the enemies, or you know the things are around. You don't know where they're at, though. You have to look for the handprints and hope for the best.
Yeah.
And then you have the babies, or the BBs, as they're considered tools. And very disposable according to what you have to deal with in the start of the game. And they're taken from like a brain dead mother when they're at like they're at a certain age, and they're taken out so that way they don't grow anymore, and then they're put into the tubes and they can't live outside the tubes, and they have to connect to a network so it can simulate being back inside the mother so that way they don't die. And for some reason when you link up with them, you it can see them, and then it allows you to have some kind of sight to see them sometimes.
The more I hear about this game, the weirder it gets.
Yeah, it's very weird, and you don't want to die in this game. People that die on there become explosive. You have like 48 hours before the necrosis starts setting in, and then you basically you turn into the person whoever passes away on there. They turn into a giant Death Stranding, and then everything is blown up whenever it's all settled and done.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something.
This just sounds like Kojima was like, I am going to make the weirdest thing I've ever made. People have thought I've made weird stuff in the past. They've not seen anything yet.
Yeah, that's very accurate. it's like he is unchained, and they said, "Do what you want, and here's your money," and he did it.
Here's a whole bunch of money. Have fun. And he,
Oh gosh. Uh, for what I'm doing right now, it's very much just get your mission, and your mission's like, all right, go over here and deliver this item, and you get
yeah.
there, and they're like, okay, cool, here's your payment in likes on Yelp,
Okay.
and that's how you level up your stats.
I've heard some people talking about this being very much like you're a delivery man.
Amazon delivery simulator.
Yeah.
Everyone has to have
So
same day delivery. Everyone. Oh gosh. What you're trying to do is set up a internet connection from East Coast to West Coast,
okay.
and apparently moving 5 feet is like moving 3 states over. I don't understand
So
it, but apparently I've gone halfway across the country riding a motorcycle for 2 hours.
I don't think it's that quick. I think it takes a little longer to get halfway across the country.
Unless everyone's like super giant or something.
Hmm. So are you? It sounds. Are you just basically carrying a cable from one side of the country to the other to hook the internet up?
No, no, no. It's the necklace he wears. It's got those 5 or 6 weird looking uh, fobs on them,
Okay.
and you go to someone's computer access terminal where they're a hologram at, and generally they're just letting you'll give them their item like, oh cool, here, thanks, here you can now set up my Wi-Fi password. And so you do that by just putting those on there, and it does it.
I called IT 5 months ago. It's about time you got here.
As for the death thingies, I think they're called BTs.
Yeah,
And
that's the one term I'm familiar with from the trailer that I've seen over and over and over on YouTube.
you have the BB, which is the baby, the BTs, which are the things, and then there's like all these other terms that are just kind of getting thrown out there, and you just kind of have to accept that they're legitimate terms for the game.
Okay.
It's like, all right, cool, that all right, that's being thrown around a lot. I'll just accept it as a thing here.
It sounds like something they use in Resident Evil Revelations. They call their not zombies something similar to that, but I can't remember what it is right off the top of my
They
head.
were like bioweapons.
BWs maybe?
Yeah, that sounds about right. But the BTs, you'll generally they start showing up around when it's raining for the most part, from what I've seen. But I think there's been like one maybe two occasions where it happened when it wasn't raining, but that's weird. And the rain on there, if it gets on your skin, you age rapidly wherever it touches.
Okay.
So they call it time fall because it's your time is falling.
Interesting.
It's super
So like
strange.
you could have this instance where you know how a lot of people will stand on their porch and stick their hand out in the rain? You could be young, but you have a 75-year-old man's hand.
Yes, exactly. Like that lady with the weird umbrella. She takes her glove off, and that's exactly the thing she was demonstrating in the game. She's like, "Yeah, I wear the glove because of this."
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh gosh." But the BTS they show up about that time or in the rains usually. Sam or Norman Reedus, whoever, whichever one you want to call him, he's got the sixth sense for knowing when they're around. He'll generally sense that they're nearby. And the weird thing is, it also kills your motorcycle for a moment, which is really annoying because it won't restart right away. And you just know they're nearby. You can't see them. And then a little bit later, your BB kicks in, and that's when the thing on your shoulder will pop out, and it starts doing it's looking around. It'll look in the direction of the nearest one, and that's the only way you know where to not go. And when it's looking there, that's fine. But then it starts doing its open close thing. I guess little flashy deal. I guess is what we can call it. That means you're getting closer, or it's getting closer. And you can hold R1 to hold your breath based on how
Mhm.
much stamina you have.
So, do you have any way to defend yourself against these things?
Blood.
Okay.
Sam's blood. We don't know why they hate it. So it's gotten weaponized into grenades at the moment.
Interesting.
And they work. I had to use them on like a giant skeletal wellfish thing. It took a lot of grenades. But like I said, BB will use the thing to do the little flashy deal for when they're getting close, and whenever they're like coming after you, or like immediately close, he changes to it from white to yellow light, and then is rapidly rotating the hand dilly, and it's like, oh gosh, I need to get away from here now. Or it's like stand perfectly still, and you can actually see them floating around above you, and that's your chance at like throw a grenade or something to uh, harm them, so you can get away in time.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you have the black pit around your feet trying to pull you down, and that's never fun.
No, not a good thing.
And the human people you have to fight against on there are called Mule, and all they do is gather stuff and take it to their base camp. They're very
Well, I mean,
interesting people. You just got to punch them a few times and steal all the stuff.
this. Yeah, I have no idea what to think about this game, and it seems like the general public isn't 100% sure what to think about this game either. I mean, I've heard a lot of people have been like, "Yeah, this game is fantastic," and then a lot of people are like, "I have no idea what I'm doing in this."
I'm kind of in between on there. It's like I'm enjoying it, but I have no idea what I'm doing. It's like, okay, I just need to
Yeah.
deliver stuff so I can progress story, and I can do other deliveries to get more raw materials to build this road, or to build new equipment or whatever. And that's about it. What that I'm doing right now.
Hmm.
So I guess until I progress further in the story, I'm just kind of stuck doing that.
The one thing you can say is that it is definitely a game like nobody has ever played before.
That is, uh, that's 100% accurate.
And I think because of that, people don't really know how to react to the game.
Yeah,
Because,
it's just you're thinking, oh man, the guy that made Metal Gear, that was such a great game series, just running around shooting and hiding, and then you get this, and it's not that, but kind of. You can
yeah.
definitely see where he went from Metal Gear Solid 5 into this, because the whole open world thing that he has going on. But it's very unique.
Yeah. Which I mean is a good thing. We need more experiences like that.
You know, if you're interested in the game, I'm gonna say ignore reviews right now, because like the reviews are all over the place. Like
Yeah.
IGN, I think gave it a lower score than Sonic Forces, and I don't think that person understood what they were reviewing just based on that alone. But I mean, maybe watch a little bit of someone's LP or something on that. I watched 8-Bit Ryan's LP of it today, and the first hour of it is actually just watching a movie.
Yeah.
You have like 6 minutes of gameplay, and then it's all an hour of just watching
Oh,
cutscenes.
so it's like Kingdom Hearts.
Oh yeah, totally. I
Well,
think
I
isn't the ending on this gonna be like 2.5 hours long though?
I have heard some people say that it is basically a 2.5 hour movie at the end of the game.
Yeah. Oh, after you get the link with the
But
area, it's like you did what's that called in Assassin's Creed where you climb the tower and a sync with your eagle eye stuff.
the Eagle Vision stuff.
Yeah, you get on the top of the big place, you activate your eagle vision, and you sync with the area.
Then you do the leap of faith.
Yeah, except you do this from inside a building safely. And after you do that, you can see structures that other people have built, and you can interact with them.
Oh,
So, like in one area, I'm trying to actually build a road, and I actually donated I did donate all the material to build it, but I was missing a few of them, and I'm going back to deliver them. Someone else had already built a big chunk of it, and so I got to ride on that chunk of the road on my way back from a delivery because it didn't exist before that until I got it synced up. And then I got to
yeah.
my area, and I fed the rest of the materials, and it built the rest of the road.
This is definitely one of those games where the only way you're really going to get the best opinion of the game is to play it. I think even watching Let's Plays, if you're watching a Let's Player that you know and they spend a lot of time talking while they're playing, you might get a lot of the enjoyment of watching the experience from them.
Maybe skip to like episode 3 or 17 of their Let's Play, because by that point you'll be able to see what the gameplay actually is.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing it justice trying to describe it. It's like, okay, you do this and that. Where's the catch? I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. So well, it's very good that we have people like Kojima who are interested in doing weird things like this.
I'm really interested in what he's going to do after this, because he does have plans to start doing movies at some point.
Yeah,
And
he's already
so,
said that their studio is going to do a movie at some point.
and I'm knowing about Kojima, just learning about him over the years, figuring out that he's a big movie buff, and even that his family had him like tell them about movies he would go see whenever he got old enough to go by himself. I think he had to write essays and stuff on them for his mom. And
I'll
it's just,
be I'll be really interested to hear your thoughts after you finish this and whether or not we should get a sequel to it.
oh gosh, that's gonna be a scary thought.
Like, is this the kind of game or experience that needs to be a one and done, and then that's it? That's the story, and you go on and you never hear anything else about this world again? Or is it going to be the
Honestly,
type of game
for
that people want to
Kojima,
play?
I think one and done should be something he should do for most of the games he's wanting to do right now. Like, he wanted to be done with Metal Gear for a number of years,
Yeah,
and kept getting dragged back in because Konami wanted money. But I think for what he's doing right now, it's like, just one and done, one and done, one and done, and then maybe see what fans are still clamoring for. And it's like, okay, you can make a sequel, but it's not a direct sequel. It's like, oh, here's another story happening somewhere else in that universe. I'd be all for that. Kind of like if you were playing Mass Effect as a different person that wasn't Shepard.
yeah.
But I mean, we'll never see what that looks like because there's only 3 Mass Effect games.
Mhm.
Ah, that's a sad truth. So what have you been playing, Tony?
Let's see. So, I've been playing a lot of Paladins. Not going to talk about that, though. Um, Before I get to what I have been playing a lot this week, I just want to tell everybody, I may talk about it a little bit next week. Play Super Lucky's Tale, new Super Lucky's Tale on the Switch, because that game is fantastic. It is very much old school Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie style 3D platformer, and it is adorable. It is fun. Go play it. You really should. But I might talk about it in more detail next week.
Okay.
But I just wanted to mention that because it's a fantastic game so far. What I have been playing though this week is Luigi's Mansion.
No way.
So I am on floor 13 of 15, so I'm getting very close to what I think is the end. I could be wrong. I'm about time-wise halfway to what I've heard some people saying it takes, but I don't know that it takes that long. I think maybe they were doing 100% completion, finding everything. I haven't been doing that.
That's what I'm trying to do.
So I'm 10 hours almost into the game, and I'm at floor 13. And there's 15 floors in the hotel. So unless there's a lot of content that pads the end of this game, I think I'm getting close to the end, and it's probably going to take me 12 to 13 hours to finish the game.
Okay.
So, but don't be surprised if you see this at the top of my Game of the Year list this year, because it is an amazingly fun game to play. I've been playing the entire game co-op with my kids. They've been taking turns playing with me. Andrew's played a little bit, Abby's played a little bit, Jake's played a little bit. They've all just kind of been rotating with me. But the entire game so far has been played co-op, and I think that's part of the reason that maybe you and I have been talking in places where I've struggled a little bit, you didn't, and places where you struggled a little bit, I didn't. I think maybe that the co-op has something to do with that, because I don't have to switch back and forth between the two characters.
Right.
We can have everything being done all at one time rather than having to go back and forth between the characters. And I think that does make some segments of the game probably a little easier than they are if you're playing by yourself. Because while the game is technically a single-player game, it seems to me like so much of it was built with two characters in mind that it works better as a co-op game than it does as a single-player game.
I'll agree to that, yeah.
So, but yeah, everything that I had, any issues I had with Dark Moon have been fixed in this. And this is like the greatest hits of 1 and 2 shoved together in a new game. And I am having so much fun playing it. The ghosts, the bosses are all so good. Like they're much more memorable than anything you did in number 2. Like if you tell me a floor, I could probably tell you exactly what that ghost was like. A couple of them that I don't particularly care about, that I had some trouble with. The farmer ghost in the garden level.
Yeah, that
was probably the one that I almost wanted to turn the game off and not play it. But that's the only real frustrating part of the game that I've had. And once I figured out what to do, I died once on that ghost. But once I figured out what to do, it was much easier the second time. So it was almost worth going ahead and saying, you know what, I'm going to have to die for this first bit, but they give you the chance to. They're not extra lives really, but you have this item in the game, the golden bone, that you can get, and Polterpup will come if you die. Polterpup will come and take a golden bone out of your. I guess he's got them in his pockets. I don't know. And he'll eat the golden bone and jump on Luigi, and that wakes him up, and it gives you an extra life basically. And you can have. I'm to the point where you can have 5 of those if you want.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I think early on you're limited to 3, but as you get further on into the game, they start to give you more. I guess expecting that you're going to have troubles as you get further along into the game.
I refuse to give EGAD any money.
I've only bought the golden bones. He has 3 things that he'll sell you throughout the game. You've got the golden bones. You've got something that will help you find the booze, because there are booze hidden in the game.
Yeah.
And then a gem finder.
Yep.
Because every level has 6 gems, and you're not going to find them your first time through unless you spend a lot of time just searching. Uh, and I think maybe there's some that you can't get the first time you go through the level.
There's at least 2 of them that you can't get right now where I'm at.
Because I know one of them I have explored. It's very early on in the game. I've explored a lot and have no idea how you get it. It's a gym that's under a staircase. And later on in the game, you get a character that you can actually shoot at things that are out of your reach, and they'll grab them and bring them to you. So I think there's some things that you can't get early on.
Are you talking about the one that leads up to floor 1 from the basement?
I think so.
Yeah, just Guiji that, man.
I couldn't figure out how to get Guiji to do that.
I think you can move the carpet.
Okay, I'll have
but
to go
he'll
back
fall
and
through the floor
try
somewhere
that.
up there. Spoiler.
So, but yeah, the puzzles have been really, really fun and really interesting. They're not super difficult, but they've been interesting to figure out. There have been a couple that were really clever, like on the Egyptian level. There's some tapestries on the wall, and there's one tapestry that you have to keep pulling tapestries down before you can actually get to what's under it. And as you do that, you'll see that there's one. It's a picture of Luigi, and he's doing like that Egyptian walk thing. And then when you pull that tapestry down, there's Luigi with a couple of ghosts, and then the floor sort of locks down, and you have to fight ghosts before you can go on and do the next part of it. There's some really clever stuff that they do with sand manipulation in the Egyptian level as well.
Yeah.
Because you can not only suck up sand, and I don't know how the poltergust can hold as much sand as I was sucking up in some of those levels.
Dude, that thing's like an extra dimensional pocket.
It's basically it's Time Lord technology is what EGAD has got up in the poltergust. But not only can you suck up the sand, you can actually blow it, and you can blow it around the level. So there are some places you have to build ramps and things like that to reach things that you can't reach any other way. So they do some really clever stuff with that. Even the boss, not the boss ghosts, but the other ghosts, the regular sort of minion ghosts, they've had a really good variety of those.
Yes.
Where even if it's just the standard blue ghosts, they do things with them and give them items and give them costumes and things that are sort of like mini puzzles. You have to figure out how to get rid of the thing that they're holding in order to actually flash them with the flashlight and then suck them up. So, whereas Dark Moon had the same ghosts over and over and over again, they have that here, but they mix it up in every level and make it interesting, even just fighting the little minion ghosts.
That was my biggest complaint about Dark Moon. It's like, it's always just the same cookie cutter ghost.
Yeah.
And as for the bosses, there was nothing unique. There was no specialty ghost on there, like the painting ghost from the first game. This one, they're not the painting ghost, but they're all unique. They're like themed ghosts.
Yeah, they're all different. There's mini boss ghosts and the main ghosts. They're all different. The sort of rank and file minion ghosts, sometimes they'll have a sword in their hand, other times they'll have sunglasses on, or they'll pick up something off of the ground that you have to figure out how to get rid of. So they do a really good job of making everything, even if it is similar, feel slightly different and not repetitive. And boy, this game looks so good.
Yes.
I don't know what they're working some magic with the Switch to make this game look as good as they are, because everything in the environment can be manipulated, and it's sometimes dozens of items that are all flying around that all have individual physics models, clumps of paper, huge amounts of money, popcorn in boxes. There's so much stuff, and all of it can be manipulated. Some of it can be sucked up and thrown back at people. Some of it you'll grab with the plunger, which is the new thing that the poltergust can do, and you'll throw a plunger at it, and then you'll suck up a string that's on the plunger, and then you can slam that down at things and break things in the environment or stun ghosts with stuff like that. And the lighting effects are incredible. Like everything, when you first get in the game, everything is real shiny. There's a lot of bloom. There's a lot of like, this is someone spent billions of dollars to make this mansion because it looks like everything is lined with gold. And that's reflecting off of it. Luigi has a reflection in the floor on the marble floors of different levels, and it's so pretty to look at. Like, with the exception of the one ghost that I had a lot of trouble with, there's very little that I could say negative about this game. I'm having so much fun. It is so good. It has been worth the wait. I'm glad we didn't have to wait 12 years between games this time. We only had to wait 6. So maybe in 3 years we'll get Luigi's Mansion 4.
Maybe.
When the Switch 2 comes out in 3 years. You heard it here first. I'm calling it now. Switch 2 comes out in Switch 2022.
2. Got it.
2022 for the Switch 2. It makes perfect sense. So, but yeah, Luigi's Mansion 3 is a phenomenal game. I have not yet had a chance to play the multiplayer. We've been talking on our line chats about being able to get in and play the Scare Scraper mode. Locally, you can only play... Well, I shouldn't say that. On one system, you can only have 2 people. But you can play locally or online. So if you have multiple Switches, you can all connect together to play with up to 8 players. Or you can play online with up to 8 players. But only 2 people per system.
Okay.
So that's why we haven't messed with the multiplayer here, because if you can only have 2 players, I'd rather be playing the story than the Scare Scraper stuff. So we need to get a group together to actually be able to play Scare Scraper and see what that's like on this game. Do you have any other thoughts about Luigi's Mansion?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, then let's take a quick break and we will come back and talk about the news. So, time for the news. Sony has added some new games to the PlayStation Now service.
Such as?
Hollow Knight.
Hey, that's a game.
So, I've heard a lot of people say that's a pretty good game. Middle-earth Shadow of War, which is the sequel to Shadow of Mordor, which I really want to play.
I was about to ask which one was which, because one of those was free on PS Plus a while back, like a year or so ago.
That was Shadow of Mordor, I believe.
Actually, that was like a month after I actually got the game.
And then the sequel came out, and I have not played the sequel yet, but I loved the first game. It was basically Assassin's Creed in Middle-earth, and that's 2 things I really, really like. So that game was one I enjoyed a whole lot. And then, lastly, the one I should finally... I have no excuse not to play this at this point. Persona 5 has been added to PlayStation Now.
Nice.
So, for $10 a month, the service is getting better and better. It's still not... I think Games with Gold is probably a better service. Mm-hmm. One thing about PlayStation Now is when they add new games like this, they're only on there for a limited time. It's not like with what I understand Microsoft's to be, is once it's on there, it's on there. It can come off, but they don't put them on there for limited times. Like when Sony said that these are only going to be available for a very short period of time.
Also, the thing with Microsoft is they're not afraid to throw first-party games on there right away.
Well, it's the thing with Microsoft. All of their first-party games are on there day one. So if you've got a game that's coming out that you really want to play and you don't want to spend $60 on it, you can subscribe to Games with Gold for $10, play the game, and you're good to go. Sony is not putting new releases on there. They're only putting uh, older games on there at this point.
Yeah, but to see Persona 5 on there, I'm thinking they're doing that just because Royal just came out in Japan.
Yeah,
So I mean that's fine because people are going to buy up the new version anyway that are fans,
that
and
is
this will be
true.
a good way to get more people to go out and buy the new one after that as well.
Yeah, because if they can for $10 say, I want to check out this Persona game, and then they really like it, they can go out and they have a potential new customer with Persona 5 Royal, and then Persona 5 whatever the other one is. I can never remember the subtitle for it.
Scrambled
Uh,
and Royal.
yeah, that one. So there you go. 3 new titles added to PlayStation Now. They go along with games like God of War, which were added last month. So um, there's a pretty good selection of titles on there if you're wanting something to play for fairly cheap. But speaking of Sony, they had a little bit of a shakeup in their management this week.
Would you really call that a shakeup?
I, some people shuffled around.
Okay, all
So
right.
um, Shohei Yoshida was the head of Worldwide Studios, and he has actually stepped down from that position and will now be the um,
I think he's in
sort
charge of
of
their indie and
yes.
department or something.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the actual title for what he
Still important, but not important enough.
yeah. So he is going to be if you've got an indie title you want on PlayStation, you're going to be talking to Shohei Yoshida. So, but I think taking his place is the former managing director and co-founder of Guerrilla, Herman Holst. Yeah, and he does take over as the head of Worldwide Studios. So,
He's behind such games as the Killzone series and
and Horizon
Horizon
Zero
Zero
Dawn.
Dawn. Jinx, Yomi Soda.
Yep. So, well, next time I see you, I will buy you a Coke.
Yay. Be another one of those monster drinks at the event where they're all free.
There you go. I'll just go get you a free drink and say, here you go. Boom. Have a purple monster. Tastes like purple.
Purple's a fruit.
The best fruit. So, um, I don't really know the whole reason behind this sort of shuffling of executives. But it's happening right at the end of the PlayStation 4's life cycle as we, are ramping up to the launch of the PS5. So, but I think a lot of people are very excited about this move, and they think it'll be good
Yeah,
for
I mean,
Sony
this
as a
guy's made
whole.
some really good games, and having him in charge would be a great way to see uh, probably a massive improvement in quality of life for the system for what kind of games we can expect first
Right.
party Sony to have for starters, and then maybe we'll see an increase in third party developers coming back to the system after all the drama from uh, was it I guess it was earlier this year with all the reports having to be submitted in English even though it's like only in Japan,
Mm-hmm.
and then the censorship stuff, and then the crossplay. It's like, oh, to protect the children. It's like, protect them from what? Being able to play their games with their friends on other systems?
If Nintendo can get behind crossplay, Sony can get behind crossplay.
Exactly.
I'm gonna need somebody to get with High Res Studios about crossplay for Paladins, or not crossplay because it's already got crossplay.
I was
Cross
about to
progression.
say.
Um, I want to attach my PlayStation and my Switch accounts together so I can have all my content on both those systems. Um,
Oh,
but
that's
Sony's the one company that hasn't gotten behind cross progression with Paladins yet. All the other ones do.
so it's cross-play but not cross-save. Got it.
It is. So, yeah, if you want to play on the PlayStation and then take your game with you on vacation and use the Switch, you can't use the same account right now, which stinks. But that's okay. So, well, I guess it'll be interesting in the next few months to see exactly how this change of executives affects Sony going into the beginning of the life of the PS5. But let's move over to another executive now. Let's talk about Bowser, because Mr. Doug Bowser talked to The Verge this week, and he was asked about the 3DS, and he said that system's not dead yet.
But it totally is.
So, The Verge asked him specifically about the 3DS and what is going to happen to the 3DS going forward, and when are they going to end support for that system. And his response was, "We're certainly not going to say anything today. I think time will tell. We'll continue to support the 3DS this holiday and into 2020. What exactly that means, who knows, because they're not making games for it. The 3DS sold in the last quarter worldwide 370,000 units in the entire quarter.
Maybe they're going to take the... they're taking a different approach, but the same approach that Sony has with the Vita. They're going to keep releasing updates for the system, but they're actively saying they support it. Unlike Sony, who is like, "Oh yeah, we're not supporting that," and then suddenly after like a year, it's like, "Oh, by the way, here's an update to keep piracy away."
Yeah.
And then a month later, here's another update because y'all broke the other one.
Yeah, there was an update to the 3DS not that long ago, and it made that system so much more stable. Because that's all it did, was just a system stability update. But yeah, there's no games coming for it. There are no exclusive games announced for it. In the last 3 or 4 months, I think, in those press releases that I get every week for the new releases on Nintendo systems, there have been like 4 really tiny indie games that have come out for the 3DS. So yeah, they're supporting it in terms of software updates, but that's it. They're not making games for it. They're not going to announce any new 3DS games for the system at all for this holiday. And I'm not going to say with 100% certainty they wouldn't announce a 3DS game for 2020, but they're not going to announce any exclusive games for the 3DS in 2020.
Oh yeah, of course not.
So,
but if they did, that'd be crazy.
It would be insane. So, but one system that is getting new games is the Switch. And Nintendo stealth launched a brand new IP this week. Just out of nowhere, said, "You know what? We're going to give you guys a new IP, and you're going to love it." It's not developed by Nintendo. It's developed by Tarsier Studios, who are the developers of Little Nightmares, which came out on the Switch earlier this year, I think.
It's like adorable, spooky game.
Yeah, it is a sort of horror game, but it's an adorable horror game. This game is called The Stretchers, and it is so insane. It looks bizarre, but I really want to play it. Because in the game, it's a co-op game, but you can play it by yourself.
You play as Stretch Armstrong.
No, unfortunately, no. Stretch Armstrong is not in this game. You play as some ambulance drivers, and you have to respond to calls by driving your ambulance wherever you want. It doesn't have to be on the streets. You can drive through people's yards. You can drive through their houses. It doesn't matter. You just got to get there as quick as you can, and then you get out of the ambulance, and you and your co-op partner are carrying the stretcher, and you put it down, and you throw the people onto the stretcher however you want. It doesn't have to be gently. And I've even seen in some of the trailers, you see like 4 people piled onto the stretcher all at the same time, and they're carrying it around.
And in Death Stranding, that would be just damaging the cargo.
So you put them on the stretcher, and then you put the stretcher back in the ambulance, and you drive to the hospital, Crazy Taxi style, and drop them off at the hospital. It is so weird looking. It looks so much fun. I think it's $20 on the eShop, and it's available worldwide. But it's not just, you don't just drive there and you put the people on the stretcher. You've got to avoid like obstacles in the environment that could knock the people off the stretchers or knock you over. There'll be things swinging around, so you have to put them on the stretcher and then avoid these giant objects that are swinging around the world. You should, if you haven't seen the trailer, check it out because it looks crazy. It's one of those games that you're going to have a lot of fun. You're going to be yelling at your friends in your living room, but you're going to be laughing while you're yelling at them at the same time.
Sounds like a party game.
So, it does, and it looks really crazy and fun. And now people are going to start calling for the stretchers to be in Smash. So you got that to look forward to as well.
So anything on Nintendo, people want it on Smash.
I'm telling you, the little hospital symbol looks kind of like the Smash logo. So they're already halfway there. Another game that people have been wanting to know, this is our last news story for the week. The Outer Worlds has been available on PS4, Xbox, and I think PC for, about a month now?
I'm going to say like 2 weeks maybe.
Has it been? Okay.
It hasn't been very long.
It was announced for Switch, but before the release, they said that the Switch version would come after the other versions. And we still don't have an official release date yet, but we do have a time period that we can look forward to.
Yeah, it's been out for 2 weeks.
Okay. And the game looks great. Like, it really looks like a lot of fun. It looks like sort of a more colorful version of Fallout, I guess you could say.
Sure, we'll go with that. Colorful.
But you're fighting corporations instead of irradiated monsters.
It's the best Fallout game. That's not Fallout.
That's not Fallout
or Elder Scrolls.
But it was supposed to come to Switch, and the Switch release was not happening at the same time as the other systems. But in the latest quarterly earnings report from Take-Two, they announced that it will be available for Switch in calendar 2020 during our fiscal year 2020. And that means that it looks like January to March of 2020 is when we can expect that game to come out, because they do say it will be out by the end of the fiscal year. So unless they announce a delay, you might be able to look forward to that game in the first 3 months of the year, which means it's not that far off. So people have that to look forward to. I really want to check this out when it comes to the Switch. But there you go. If you're looking to play that on the Switch, look for that in the first quarter of the year. That's all I have. Do you have anything else?
No. I mean, we talked about it in the pre-show. It's not really that important, really.
All right. Well, in that case, that will be the end of the show for this week. So thank you very much for being here.
I get to go back to making deliveries on Amazon Prime Simulator.
Hey, somebody's got to deliver pizzas in the post-apocalypse.
It's a lot more fun than what I'm giving it credit for. It's better than that.
Hopefully people tip well.
5-star reviews on Yelp.
If you want to reach out to us, we have new ways to do so. You can email us at procedurallygeneratedent@gmail.com. If you like what we do, you can support us on Patreon by going to patreon.com/PGENT. Patreon supporters get the video version of the podcast a day early. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/ProGenInt. Check out our YouTube channel, and we still have that famous Facebook group where you can interact with us on a daily basis as well.